A Chicago penthouse, 50 floors above the city, where the lights of Lake Michigan glitter like a promise that never comes true. Inside, Ethan Caldwell, tech millionaire, stands frozen, his coffee gone cold in a $1,000 mug. He's got everything: money, power, a view that screams success, but none of it matters. Why? Because his 10-year-old son, Noah, hasn't spoken a word in years. Autism has locked Noah in a world Ethan can't reach, a world where eyes don't meet and smiles don't come. 5 top therapists, millions spent, and still, Noah sits in a corner, tapping rhythms only he understands, his small hands trembling. Ethan's heart breaks every time he looks at his son, wondering if he'll ever hear Dad again. The silence in that penthouse, it's louder than the city below. Now, imagine Ethan's shock when he hears something impossible, a soft, soulful voice singing Summertime from the kitchen. It's not a radio, not a therapist, but Sarah Mitchell, the new maid, humming like she's pouring her heart into every note. She's just a cleaner, no degrees, no credentials. Yet Noah, who flinches at loud noises, tilts his head toward her. For the first time in years, his tapping stops. Ethan's jaw drops. Is this a fluke? A tease of hope? Or something more? He spent a fortune on experts who failed. So why is this stranger, with nothing but a mop and a melody, breaking through to his son? And what happens next? It's gonna blow your mind. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales of Hope. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss a single story that'll touch your soul. Share this with someone who needs a spark of hope and settle in, because we're diving into a journey that'll change how you see love, loss, and miracles. Ethan's world is about to turn upside down, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming. Hey there, Justice Spark Stories family. Welcome back to another story that's gonna grab your heart and not let go. If you're new here, you're in for a ride. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a moment that could change how you see the world. Share this video with someone who needs a lift, your best friend, your mom, or that coworker who's always down. It's Chicago, 2025, and we're about to step into a penthouse where hope is hard to find, but miracles? They're just a song away. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's dive into the story of Ethan Caldwell, his son Noah, and a woman named Sarah Mitchell, who's about to turn their world upside down. High above the windy city, 50 floors up, Ethan Caldwell's penthouse is a palace of glass and steel, perched like a crown over Lake Michigan. The view stretches for miles, all shimmering water and skyscraper lights, but inside, it's a different story. The air feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. Ethan, a tech millionaire who built an empire from a garage laptop, stands by a floor-to-ceiling window, his sharp navy suit pressed to perfection. At 42, he's got the kind of face you'd see on a Forbes cover. Square jaw, piercing blue eyes. But those eyes are hollow now, fixed on the horizon like he's searching for something money can't buy. His coffee sits untouched on a marble counter, $100 worth of imported beans gone cold. The city hums below, but up here, the silence is deafening. It's not the kind of quiet that soothes. It's the kind that screams. In a sunlit corner of the living room, Noah Caldwell, Ethan's 10-year-old son, sits cross-legged on a plush gray rug. His small hands tap a rhythm on his knees, steady but frantic, like he's trying to drown out the world. Noah's autism keeps him locked in a place Ethan can't reach. No words, no eye contact, just those endless taps and the occasional tremor when a sound gets too loud. Noah's got his mother's curly brown hair, but Ethan can't look at it without remembering Rachel, his wife, who died in a car crash 8 years ago on the I-94. She was his anchor, his laugh, his everything. When she left, she took the light with her, leaving Ethan and Noah in a world of shadows. He spent millions, 6 figures on therapists, 7 on specialists, hoping someone could unlock his son's voice, his smile. But every expert walks out with the same sterile apology. Noah's not responding. He may never connect. Ethan's chest tightens every time he hears it, like a fist squeezing his heart. This morning, Ethan kneels beside Noah, brushing a curl from his son's forehead. "Hey, buddy," he whispers, voice soft as a prayer. Dad's right here, okay? Noah's eyes flicker, not to Ethan, but to the window, chasing some invisible spark. Ethan forces a smile, but it cracks. He's not just grieving Rachel. He's grieving the father he wanted to be. The one who'd toss a baseball with his kid. Here, I love you on Father's Day. No amount of money, 10 million, 100 can buy that. The penthouse, with its 10-foot ceilings and custom chandeliers, feels like a museum of what could have been. Somewhere in the distance, his phone buzzes with a board meeting reminder from his assistant, Mark. Ethan ignores it. What's the point of all this? He mutters. If I can't fix you? Across the room, Clara Evans, Ethan's sister-in-law, watches with arms crossed, her sharp heels clicking on the hardwood as she paces. Claire's been family since Rachel's death, managing the Caldwell estate with an iron grip. At 45, she's all business, blonde bob, tailored blazer, and a voice that cuts through nonsense. Ethan, you can't keep firing therapists, she says, her Chicago accent thick with frustration. Noah needs consistency, not a revolving door of PhDs. Ethan doesn't look up. I'm paying them enough to rebuild Soldier Field. He snaps. They should be working miracles. Clara's jaw tightens. Money doesn't solve everything, Ethan. This is Noah, not a stock portfolio. Her voice softens, but only a fraction. You're running out of options, and I'm scared for him. Ethan stands, loosening his tie like it's choking him. He glances at Noah, still tapping, still distant. Claire's right, but admitting it feels like surrender. He's tried every clinic from Lincoln Park to Evanston, every method from speech therapy to sensory rooms. Nothing works. The weight of it all, grief, failure, love, presses down like the 50 floors beneath him. He walks to his office, a sleek cave of glass and leather, and sinks into a chair worth more than most people's cars. A photo of Rachel holding a toddler Noah sits on his desk, her smile a knife in his chest. I'm trying, Ratch, he whispers, but I don't know how to do this without you. That's when Mark, his assistant, steps in, hesitant, clutching a tablet. At 30, Mark's the kind of guy who blends into a room. Neat haircut, khakis, quiet confidence. Sir, I've got an idea, he says, voice low. It's not conventional. Ethan raises a brow, patience thin. Unless it's a time machine, Mark, save it. But Mark doesn't back down. Her name's Sarah Mitchell. She cleans at my church in Wicker Park. No degrees, no therapy training, but she's got this gift. She sings, and people feel it. My cousin, who hasn't talked since his dad passed, smiled when she sang at a fundraiser. I think she could help Noah. Ethan laughs, bitter. A maid? You're telling me to replace Harvard doctors with a janitor? Mark holds his ground. I'm saying you've tried money. Maybe try heart. The words hang there, sharp and true. Ethan's instinct is to shut it down. Credentials are his language, not fairy tales. But something in Mark's eyes, steady and sure, makes him pause. He glances at Noah's photo, then back at Mark. 1 week, he says. If she's a bust, you're answering to Clara. Mark nods, a spark of hope in his smile. As he leaves, Ethan mutters to Rachel's photo, "What am I even doing?" Sarah Mitchell steps into the story like a breeze through a cracked window. And trust me, family, you're not ready for what's coming. A cleaner with a voice that could melt stone, a boy trapped in silence, and a father drowning in grief. Something's about to break, and it's going to shake you to your core. Stay with us, hit that share button, and let's see where this melody leads. The Chicago skyline sparkles like a diamond necklace against the dawn, but up in Ethan Caldwell's penthouse, 50 floors above Lake Michigan, the morning feels like a wait. The city's alive down there, honking taxis, joggers along the lakefront trail, coffee shops brewing $5 a cup. But inside these glass walls, time moves slower, heavier. Ethan stands by his window, a silhouette in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up like he's ready to fight the day. His tech empire, built from a single line of code in a Rogers Park basement, pulls in billions. But right now, his world shrunk to the 10-foot radius around his son, Noah. The kid's curled up on a leather sofa, tapping his fingers in that endless rhythm, eyes fixed on a spot nobody else can see. Ethan's heart aches, not just for the word Noah can't say, but for the life he dreamed of, a little league game, a bedtime story, a hug that says, I'm here. Autism stole that, and no check Ethan writes, no matter how many zeros, brings it back. Noah's 10, small for his age, with Rachel's brown curls and a face that could light up a room if it ever smiled. He doesn't talk, doesn't look at you, but those hands, they're always moving, tapping tables, knees, anything solid, like he's sending a code to a world that doesn't answer. Sometimes, when the dishwasher hums or a car alarm blares outside, Noah's whole body shakes, hands flapping like trapped birds. Ethan spent 8 years chasing answers, clinics in Gold Coast, specialists from Northwestern, even a guru in California who charged 10 grand a session. They all leave the same way, heads down, muttering about limited progress. Ethan's office is stacked with their reports, a paper graveyard of hope. He's not just fighting for Noah. He's fighting the ghost of Rachel, who'd sing jazz in the shower and dance with Noah in her arms. She's gone, taken by a semi on the I-94, and Ethan's been drowning ever since. Clara Evans strides into the living room, her heels clicking like a metronome on the oak floor. She's Rachel's older sister, the one who stepped in when the world fell apart. At 45, Claire's a force, blonde hair clipped tight, eyes that could freeze a boardroom. She runs the Caldwell family trust, keeps Ethan's finances sharper than a razor, and loves Noah like her own. But her patience is fraying. Ethan, you're burning through therapists like cheap candles, she says, tossing her purse on a chair worth a month's rent. Noah needs stability, not another Ivy League dropout with a clipboard. Ethan doesn't turn from the window. I'm not settling, Clara. He deserves the best. She scoffs, Chicago grit in her voice. The best. You're paying them enough to buy a yacht. And what's changed? Noah's still there. She gestures at the boy, who's now rocking slightly, tapping faster. Ethan's jaw tightens. Don't say it like that. He's not a problem to fix. Clara softens, but only a hair. I'm not the enemy, Ethan. I'm scared for him. For you. Rachel wouldn't want this. Endless doctors, endless fights. Ethan finally faces her, eyes blazing. Rachel's not here, Clara. I am, and I'll do whatever it takes. The words hang heavy, a promise and a wound. Clara sighs, picking up her purse. Then do better than firing another therapist. Noah's running out of time. She leaves, her heels echoing like a countdown. Ethan sinks onto the sofa beside Noah, close but not touching, afraid to break whatever fragile world his son's built. We're gonna figure this out, buddy, he murmurs, voice cracking. But the truth, he's got no clue how. Enter Mark Hayes, Ethan's assistant, who's been with him since the startup days. Mark's 30, lanky, with glasses that slip down his nose and a quiet way of cutting through Ethan's storms. He's the guy who remembers Noah's birthday and keeps the office running when Ethan's lost in grief. Today, he's nervous, clutching a coffee-stained notebook. Sir, I know you're not in the mood, he starts, standing in the office doorway. Ethan's hunched over a laptop, ignoring emails from investors. Spit it out, Mark, he says, not looking up. Mark takes a breath. There's this woman, Sarah Mitchell. She cleans at my church in Wicker Park. No training, no fancy resume, but she's different. She sings, and it's like she pulls people out of their shells. My cousin, after his dad died, hadn't smiled in a year. Sarah sang at a fundraiser, and he laughed. I think she could reach Noah. Ethan snorts, leaning back in his chair. A maid? You're joking, right? I've got PhDs from Stanford on speed dial. Mark doesn't flinch. Those PhDs aren't working, sir. Sarah's not a doctor, but she's got heart. Sometimes that's what matters. Ethan's ready to wave him off, but Mark's words hit a nerve. Heart. It's what Rachel had, what Ethan's been missing. He glances at a photo on his desk. Rachel and Noah, her arms around him, both laughing. His throat tightens. One shot, he says finally. If she wastes my time, you're explaining it to Clara. Mark nods, relief flickering in his eyes. You won't regret this, sir. Sarah Mitchell's about to walk into this penthouse, and let me tell you, family, it's not just a job she's starting. It's a revolution. Picture a woman in a faded denim jacket, no credentials, just a voice that could wake a sleeping city. She's 35, with a past that's left scars, but her eyes, they burn with something unstoppable. Once a jazz singer in smoky Logan Square bars, Sarah gave it up when her mom passed, trading stages for a mop to pay the bills. She doesn't know it yet, but she's carrying a secret that'll shake the Caldwell family to its core. And Noah, he's about to hear a melody that'll crack his world wide open. This penthouse, with its $1,000,000 views and empty spaces, is a stage set for something bigger than money or power. Ethan's fighting for his son, Clara's fighting for reason, and Mark's betting on a long shot. Sarah's song is the spark, but what happens when it lights a fire nobody saw coming? Stay with us, because this story's just getting started, and the next twist is gonna hit you like a Chicago winter wind. Ethan's pacing the living room, his polished loafers silent on the thick wool rug, his mind a tangle of doubt and desperation. Noah's in his usual spot, cross-legged by the window, tapping his knees like he's decoding the city's pulse. The Lake Michigan horizon glitters, but it's just a backdrop to Ethan's unraveling world. He's fired another therapist this morning, the 5th this year, a Yale grad who charged 10 grand a month and left with nothing but a shrug. Noah's not engaging, she said, her voice clipped, like she was returning a defective gadget. Ethan's hands clench at the memory. $1,000,000 down the drain, and his son's still trapped in a silence no one can crack. He's not just fighting for Noah. He's fighting the sinking fear that he's failing Rachel, whose laugh used to fill this empty space. Clara Evans storms in, her coat flapping like a warning flag. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, lock onto Ethan. "You did it again, didn't you?" she snaps, tossing her keys on the counter with a clatter. Another therapist gone. "Ethan, this isn't a game. Noah's 10. He needs a plan, not your temper tantrums." Ethan stops pacing, his voice low but biting. "I'm not playing, Clara. I'm paying them to fix him, and they're failing. I want results, not excuses." Clara's face hardens, her Chicago accent thick with exasperation. "Fix him? He's not a broken app, Ethan. You can't code your way out of autism. You're cycling through experts like they're interns, and Noah's the one paying the price." She points to the boy, who's rocking now, his taps faster, as if sensing the tension. Ethan's chest tightens. "Then what, Clara? Give up? Let him stay like this forever?" His voice cracks, betraying the fear he's buried under tailored suits and boardroom deals. Clara steps closer, her tone softer but firm. "You need someone who sees Noah, not a paycheck. Not another doctor with a 50-page resume. Maybe someone who feels him." Ethan scoffs, turning away. "What, like a psychic? Should I light some candles and pray?" Clara doesn't blink. "You're not listening. Noah's not a problem to solve. He's a kid, and you're too stubborn to see it." She grabs her coat, heading for the door. "Figure it out, Ethan, before you lose more than time." The door slams, and the penthouse feels 10 degrees colder. Ethan sinks onto the sofa, head in his hands. Noah's tapping the only sound. He's out of moves, out of hope, and the weight of it's crushing him. That's when Mark Hayes, his assistant, steps in, hesitant as a deer on a highway. He's holding a folder, knuckles white. "Sir, about that idea I mentioned." Ethan cuts him off, voice sharp. "Mark, if it's not a miracle, I don't want to hear it." But Mark, steady as ever, pushes forward. "It's Sarah Mitchell, the cleaner from my church. I know it sounds crazy, but she's got this way. She sang at a soup kitchen last month, and kids who wouldn't talk followed her like she was the Pied Piper. She's not a therapist, but she's real. I think Noah needs that." Ethan's laugh is hollow. "A maid? You want me to trust my son to someone who scrubs floors for $15 an hour?" Mark's eyes don't waver. "You've tried money, sir. You've tried degrees. Maybe try trust." The words hit like a slap, echoing Rachel's old saying, "Trust the heart, not the bank account." Ethan stares at Mark, then at Noah, whose fingers pause for a split second. One shift, Ethan says, voice tight. If she's a flake, you're fired. The next morning, Sarah Mitchell steps off the elevator into the penthouse. And let me tell you, family, the air shifts like a storm's coming. She's 35, wiry, with dark hair pulled into a messy bun and a denim jacket that's seen better days. Her cleaning totes slung over one shoulder, stuffed with rags and a cheap spray bottle. But her eyes, deep brown, like they've carried a lifetime, scan the room with quiet confidence. This isn't her first rodeo in a rich man's house. But there's something about this place, all glass and echoes, that feels like a held breath. She spots Noah by the window, his small frame curled tight, and her heart catches. She's lost people, her mom, her dreams of singing jazz in smoky Chicago clubs, but she knows what it's like to be stuck in a world nobody understands. Sarah doesn't march over to Noah or plaster on a fake smile like the therapist did. She starts wiping down the kitchen island, her movements slow, deliberate, like a dance. Then, soft as a whisper, she hums Summertime, the Ella Fitzgerald version, her voice low and warm, like honey over gravel. Ethan, working in his office down the hall, freezes. The sound drifts through the penthouse, wrapping around the silence like a blanket. He steps out, expecting a radio, but sees Sarah, her back to him, swaying slightly as she cleans. And Noah, who flinches at doorbells, tilts his head, his tapping slowing, his eyes flickering toward her. Ethan's breath catches. It's not a word, not a smile, but it's something, and it's more than he's seen in years. He watches, arms crossed, ready to call it a fluke. Sarah doesn't notice him, doesn't stop humming. She moves to the windows, dusting the sills, her voice rising just a touch, soulful, unbroken. Noah's fingers twitch, mimicking her rhythm, a tiny echo of her melody. Mark, standing by the door, whispers, "See, sir? She's different." Ethan's jaw tightens. "Luck," he mutters, but his eyes don't leave Noah. Claire's words echo, someone who feels him. And for the first time, Ethan wonders if he's been looking in the wrong places. Sarah's song, simple and unpolished, is doing what $1 million couldn't. But is it real? Or is it just another false hope, ready to shatter like glass? The Chicago dawn paints the penthouse in hues of gold, but inside Ethan Caldwell's world, 50 floors above Lake Michigan, the light feels fragile, like it could shatter with a single wrong move. Noah's in his corner, tapping rhythms on the glass coffee table, his small hands a blur against the city's waking hum. Ethan watches from the kitchen, a mug of black coffee burning his palm, his heart caught between hope and dread. Sarah Mitchell's been coming for 3 days now, her denim jacket slung over a chair, her cleaning tote a quiet fixture in the hall. That voice of hers, low, soulful, like a jazz club at midnight, has done something no therapist's clipboard ever could. Noah's noticed her, his head tilting when she hums, his taps slowing to match her rhythm. But Ethan's not sold. He's seen false starts before, glimmers of progress that faded like fog over the lake. Is Sarah's song a lifeline, or just another cruel tease? Sarah moves through the penthouse like she belongs, not to the wealth, but to the stillness. She's 35, her dark eyes carrying stories she doesn't tell, her hands quick but gentle as she dusts the bookshelves. She doesn't talk much, doesn't push Noah to engage. Instead, she sings, soft, unforced, bits of Summertime or My Funny Valentine, her voice weaving through the air like a thread pulling at Noah's locked world. Yesterday, she hung a small wind chime by the window, its silver tubes catching the light. She didn't ask Ethan, didn't make a show of it, just tapped it once, letting a single ting ripple out. Noah's fingers froze mid-tap, his eyes flicking to the chime. Ethan, watching from his office, felt his pulse spike. "Coincidence," he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. Now, as Sarah polishes the dining table, she hums again, and Noah's hands mimic her cadence, a silent duet across the room. Ethan's assistant, Mark, lingers by the door, his glasses glinting with cautious hope. "She's getting through, sir," he says, voice low. Ethan's jaw tightens. "It's been 3 days, Mark. Don't get your hopes up." But he can't look away. Sarah's not like the others. No charts, no timers, no sterile jargon about sensory integration. She's just there. Her presence a melody in a house that's forgotten how to sing. Ethan's mind flashes to Rachel, who'd hum to Noah in their old Wicker Park apartment. Her voice a warm cocoon. He shakes the memory off, but it clings like damp Chicago air. Sarah, oblivious to Ethan's scrutiny, kneels by her tote and pulls out a small wooden shaker, the kind you'd find in a dive bar's percussion kit. She sets it on the floor, 10 feet from Noah. Not too close, not too far. She doesn't call him over, doesn't even look at him. She just shakes it once, a soft chica-chica, then goes back to cleaning, humming What a Wonderful World. Noah's head snaps up, his tapping stalling. His eyes, usually lost in some distant galaxy, lock onto the shaker. Ethan holds his breath, coffee forgotten. Noah uncurls his legs, inching forward on the rug. His movements jerky but deliberate. His hand hovers over the shaker, trembling, then grabs it. Chica-chica. The sound's faint, but it's his. Ethan's mug slips, splashing coffee across the counter. "Mark," he whispers, voice hoarse. "You seeing this?" Mark nods, eyes wide. "Told you, sir. She's different." Sarah glances over, her face calm, but her eyes flicker with something, recognition, maybe, of the bridge she's building. She doesn't rush to Noah, doesn't clap or cheer like the therapists did when he made the smallest move. She just hums louder, letting him find his way. Noah shakes the instrument again, twice, his lips parting like he's tasting the sound. Ethan's heart pounds, a mix of awe and fear. He's seen Noah flinch a spoon clinking a bowl, but this is new, fragile, real. Clara bursts in an hour later, her heels a sharp staccato on the hardwood. She's clutching a tablet, her face a storm cloud. "Ethan, what's this I hear about a maid playing music with Noah?" Her voice is a blade, cutting through the room's quiet. Ethan, still reeling from Noah's moment, turns defensive. She's not playing, Clara. She's connecting. He grabbed a shaker, moved toward her. That's more than any doctor's done. Clara's eyes narrow, darting to Sarah, who's wiping down a lamp unfazed. Connecting. She's a cleaner, Ethan, not a specialist. What's next? Hiring the doorman to do speech therapy. Noah, sensing the shift, rocks faster, his shaker dropping with a dull thud. Ethan steps between Clara and Sarah, voice low. "Back off, Clara. She's doing something. I don't know how, but she is." Clara's not having it. "You're gambling with Noah's future on a hunch and a lullaby. If she messes up, if he regresses, you'll wish you'd listened to me." She points at Sarah, who finally looks up, her face steady but kind. "Ma'am, I'm not here to replace anyone," Sarah says, her Chicago drawl soft but firm. "I'm just giving him space to be himself." Clara scoffs, but her eyes catch Noah, now tapping the floor, calmer than before. She falters, just for a second, then storms out muttering, "This better not blow up, Ethan." Sarah kneels by Noah, picking up the shaker and placing it near his hand, not forcing it. She hums again, a new song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and Noah's fingers graze the wood, a tiny chica. Ethan watches, torn between disbelief and the spark he hasn't felt in years. Sarah's not just cleaning. She's rewriting the rules, note by note. But Clara's warning lingers like a shadow. Is this progress, or a house of cards waiting to fall? And why does Sarah's voice feel like it's unlocking more than just Noah's world? Family would deepen it now. Sarah's melody is shaking the foundations of this penthouse, and Noah's reaching out in ways Ethan never dreamed. But with Clara circling and Ethan's doubts creeping, the next step could change everything, or break it all apart. Rain lashes the penthouse windows, a gray curtain over Chicago's skyline, as if the city itself is holding its breath. 50 floors up, Ethan Caldwell stands in the living room, his tie loosened, his eyes fixed on Noah, who's tapping faster now, his small hands a blur against the storm's rhythm. The Lake Michigan waves churn below, but inside, the air's electric, charged with something Ethan can't name. Sarah Mitchell's been here 2 weeks, her cleaning tote a quiet sentinel by the door, her voice a daily thread weaving through the penthouse's silence. She's no therapist, no doctor, just a woman with a mop and a melody. Yet Noah's responding, tilting his head, grabbing shakers, mirroring her hums in ways that make Ethan's heart lurch. But he's still waiting, braced for the moment it all falls apart. Like every hope he's dared to hold since Rachel's car spun out on the I-94. Sarah moves through the kitchen, wiping down counters, her denim jacket draped over a stool. She's humming My Funny Valentine, her voice soft but piercing, like a lighthouse in the fog. Noah's by the window, his wind chime glinting in the dim light, his fingers pausing when she sings. Ethan watches from the hallway, arms crossed, his coffee cold again. He's seen Noah's flickers of connection, the shaker, the slowed taps, but he's scared to believe. Clara's voice haunts him. You're gambling with Noah's future. She hasn't been back since her outburst, but her warning's a shadow, heavy as the storm outside. Mark, the assistant, hovers nearby, his tablet forgotten, eyes bright with faith in Sarah. She's building something, sir, he whispers. Ethan grunts, unconvinced. Building what? A sandcastle. Sarah, unaware of Ethan's doubts, kneels by her tote and pulls out a small Bluetooth speaker, no bigger than a baseball. She sets it on the dining table, 10 feet from Noah, and taps her phone. A gentle piano melody fills the room, not jazz this time, but something softer, like a lullaby. She doesn't look at Noah, doesn't push. She just sways, her hands tracing arcs in the air, as if dancing with the notes. Noah's rocking slows, his eyes darting to the speaker. Ethan's pulse quickens. Sarah's not cleaning now. She's conducting, her presence a quiet command. Noah slides off his chair, inching closer, his bare feet silent on the rug. He stops a foot from the speaker, hands flapping, then stills. Ethan's breath catches. Mark, he hisses. He's never done that. Before anyone can react, Sarah finds something else in the penthouse's storage closet, a dusty cardboard box tucked behind old tax files. She opens it, her fingers brushing a stack of vinyl records, their sleeves faded but intact. One catches her eye, a single, hand-labeled Rachel's Lullaby. She doesn't know it's Rachel, doesn't know the weight of what she's holding. Curiosity wins. She slides it onto an old turntable in the corner, one Ethan hasn't touched since Rachel's death. The needle crackles, and a voice, Rachel's voice, fills the room, warm and clear, singing a lullaby she recorded for Noah when he was a baby. Sleep, my star, the night's your friend. Sarah freezes, sensing the shift, but she lets it play. Noah's head snaps up, his body rigid, eyes wide like he's seeing a ghost. Ethan, drawn by the sound, steps into the room and stops dead. That voice, Rachel's, hits him like a freight train, his knees buckling. Memories flood back. Rachel in her old apartment, singing to Noah, her laughter echoing off the walls. He clutches the doorframe, tears stinging his eyes. Noah, still by the speaker, sways, his hands trembling. Then, in a voice so faint it's barely a breath, he says, Mama. The word slices through the penthouse, sharper than the storm's howl. Ethan drops to his knees, a sob choking him. Noah, he gasps, crawling toward his son. You spoke, buddy. You spoke. Sarah, stunned, steps back, her hand over her mouth, eyes glistening. She didn't know the record's power, didn't know it was Rachel, but she feels the earthquake she's triggered. Noah sways again, his lips moving, as if tasting the word. Mama, he whispers, louder now, his eyes locked on the turntable. Ethan reaches him, hands shaking, not daring to touch, afraid to break the moment. That's your mom, Noah. He chokes out. She's singing for you. Noah's fingers graze the speaker, his face flushed, a spark in his eyes Ethan's never seen. Sarah, recovering, kneels nearby, her voice soft. You heard her, didn't you, Noah? She's right here. Noah doesn't look at her, but his rocking slows, his hand steady. The lullaby loops, Rachel's voice a bridge across 8 years of silence. Mark, frozen by the door, wipes his eyes. Sir, this is it. Ethan nods, tears streaming, unable to speak. He's waited a decade for a word, any word, And now it's here, wrapped in Rachel's voice, sparked by a cleaner who shouldn't have mattered. But Clara's warning claws at him. Is this a fluke? A one-time miracle? He calls her, voice raw. Clara, get here. Now. She arrives in 20 minutes, her coat dripping, her face a mask of skepticism. She sees Noah, still swaying, the turntable spinning, and Sarah, quiet in the corner. What's going on? She demands. Ethan, still on the floor, looks up. He said, Mama, Clara. He spoke. Clara's hand flies to her chest, her eyes darting to Noah, then Sarah. For once, she's speechless, but her gaze hardens. This doesn't mean she's the answer, Ethan. Be careful. Sarah meets Clara's stare, unflinching. I'm not trying to be the answer, ma'am. I'm just letting him find his voice. Clara turns away, shaken, but the doubt in her eyes lingers. Ethan pulls Noah close, his son's warmth a lifeline. The lullaby fades, but the word Mama echoes, a crack in the wall between Noah's world and theirs. Sarah's song, her instinct, her fearless choice to play that record. It's changed everything. But what's it unlocked? And what happens when the needle lifts? The Chicago night presses against the penthouse windows, 50 floors above the city's restless pulse, where Lake Michigan's waves whisper secrets in the dark. Inside, Ethan Caldwell sits on the living room floor, Noah curled against him, the boy's small hand still, his breathing soft after the storm of saying Mama. Rachel's lullaby, crackling from the old vinyl, lingers like a ghost, its final notes fading hours ago. Ethan's eyes are red, his shirt rumpled, but his heart's alive, beating with a word he never thought he'd hear. Noah spoke, and Sarah Mitchell, the cleaner with no credentials, lit the spark. But the air's thick with questions, and Clara's warning, be careful, hangs like a blade. Ethan's mind races. Is this real? Can Sarah's songs keep unlocking Noah's world? Or is it a fragile dream, ready to shatter like the glass walls around them? Sarah's in the kitchen, rinsing her cleaning rags, her denim jacket slung over a chair. She's quiet, but her presence hums, like a note held too long. She didn't mean to unearth Rachel's voice, didn't know the vinyl's weight, but Noah's Mama has shifted something in her too. She's 35, a woman who traded jazz stages for minimum wage, her own losses, her mom, her dreams, buried deep. Yet here, in this penthouse, she's found a rhythm, a purpose, in Noah's flickers of connection. Ethan watches her, torn between gratitude and fear. Claire's gone silent since Noah spoke, but her doubt's a shadow, and Ethan feels it creeping. He needs answers, not just about Noah, but about Sarah. Why her, why now? Mark Hayes, Ethan's assistant, is in the office, sifting through HR files for Sarah's contract renewal. His glasses slip as he scans a folder, his fingers pausing on a yellow document tucked in by mistake. It's a birth certificate, not Sarah's employee record, listing her name. Sarah Mitchell, born April 15th, 1990, Chicago. The father's name stops him cold, Edward Caldwell. Ethan's father. Mark's breath catches, his hand shaking as he pulls up the Caldwell family archive on his tablet. Edward's records confirm it. Same signature, same birth year. Sarah's not just a cleaner. She's Ethan's half-sister, born from a secret affair Edward never disclosed. Mark paces, the penthouse's glow dimming in his shock. This can't be right, he mutters, but the evidence is ironclad. Sarah, the woman who brought Noah's voice, is blood, woven into this family by a truth no one saw coming. Mark calls Clara, his voice trembling. She arrives in 30 minutes, her coat damp from the rain, her face a mask of steel. In Ethan's office, Mark lays out the birth certificate and a letter he found in the family safe, a faded note from Edward, addressed to my second daughter. I never met you, but I've left you a chance, if you ever find your way home. It reads, cryptic, guilt-soaked. Clara's eyes widen, her hand gripping the desk. Edward had another kid, she whispers, her Chicago accent sharp with disbelief. And she's here, cleaning Ethan's floors. Mark nods, voice low. She doesn't know, Clara. Nobody does. Clara sinks into a chair, the letter trembling in her hands. Ethan needs to see this, but God, it's gonna break him. They find Ethan in the living room, Noah asleep on the sofa, a rare calm on his face. Clara hesitates, then hands Ethan the documents. "Read," she says, her voice tight. Ethan's brow furrows as he scans the birth certificate, then the letter. His face drains of color, the papers slipping to the floor. "Sarah's my sister," he chokes out, his voice barely a whisper. He looks at Noah, then at the kitchen, where Sarah's humming softly, unaware. The weight of it, Rachel's lullaby, Noah's word, now this, hits like a sledgehammer. "My daddy never said a word," Ethan murmurs, his hand shaking. Clara kneels beside him, her own eyes wet. "He was a coward, Ethan. But Sarah, she's here. The universe brought her to Noah, to you." Ethan stumbles to his feet, his world tilting. He spent years building walls, money, control, distance. But Sarah's presence, her songs, her blood, cracks them wide open. He walks to the kitchen, the documents clutched like a lifeline. Sarah looks up, sensing the shift, her rag pausing mid-wipe. "Everything okay, Mr. Caldwell?" she asks, her drawl gentle. Ethan's throat tightens. He sets the papers on the counter, his voice raw. "Sarah, you need to see this." She wipes her hands, confused, and reads. Her eyes widen, her breath hitching. "Edward Caldwell, my father," she gasps, stepping back, the birth certificate trembling in her grip. This can't be real. I grew up with nothing, no dad, just mom's stories about a guy who left. And now I'm your sister?" Sarah's voice breaks, her face a storm of shock and pain. She looks at Ethan, then Noah, sleeping peacefully, and something shifts, grief, yes, but also a spark of belonging. "All this time," she whispers, "I thought I was just passing through your world." Ethan, tears spilling, steps closer. "You weren't passing through, Sarah. You were meant to be here. For Noah. For us." She shakes her head, overwhelmed, and bolts for the door, needing air, needing time. "I can't. I need to think," she says, her jacket forgotten as she vanishes into the elevator. Ethan doesn't chase her. He's too shattered, too awed. Clara, watching, wipes her eyes. "Let her go, Ethan. She'll come back. She's family." The penthouse falls silent, save for Noah's soft breaths and the distant rain. Ethan sinks beside his son, the birth certificate on the floor. Edward's letter a confession from a man he thought he knew. Sarah's not just a miracle worker. She's a Caldwell, tied to him by blood, to Noah by song. But her absence now feels like a hole, and Ethan's terrified. Will she return, or will this truth drive her away? Clara, softer now, rests a hand on his shoulder. "She's your sister, Ethan." And Noah's voice. "That's her gift. Trust it." Ethan nods, but doubt gnaws. He's found a sister, but at what cost? The Chicago skyline glows under a spring sunrise, its light spilling through the penthouse windows 50 floors above Lake Michigan, where Ethan Caldwell's world feels reborn. Noah sits on a cushioned mat, tapping a small bongo drum, his curls bouncing as he sways to a rhythm only he fully understands. Ethan kneels beside him, his suit jacket off, a rare smile softening his face. 2 months have passed since Sarah Mitchell's bombshell, her identity as Ethan's half-sister, unveiled by a faded birth certificate and their father's guilty letter. She walked out that night, the truth too heavy, but Ethan's been holding his breath, hoping she'd return. Noah's mama still echoes in his heart, a miracle sparked by Sarah's song, but her absence is a wound, and Ethan's terrified the melody that changed everything might fade. The penthouse, once a tomb of grief, now hums with possibility, but it's fragile, like a note held too long. Sarah steps off the elevator at dawn, her denim jacket slung over her shoulder, her eyes steady but raw. She spent weeks wrestling with the truth. Edward Caldwell, a father she never knew, tying her to Ethan, to Noah, in ways she never imagined. She grew up in a cramped South Side apartment, her mom scraping by, no hint of a millionaire's blood in their veins. But Noah's face, his small voice saying mama, pulled her back. She's not here for Ethan's wealth or a family she didn't choose. She's here for the boy whose rhythm matches hers. Ethan rises, his breath catching. "Sarah," he says, voice thick. She nods, setting her cleaning tote down. I'm not ready to be your sister, Ethan. But Noah, I can't walk away from him. Ethan's eyes glisten. That's enough. For now, they share a look, not of blood, but of purpose, and the penthouse feels whole again. Claire Evans arrives an hour later, her heels softer on the hardwood, her usual sharpness dulled by humility. She's seen Noah's progress, tapping drums, swaying to Sarah's hums, even mimicking simple sounds. Her skepticism's crumbled, replaced by a quiet awe. I was wrong, she says, standing by the window, Lake Michigan shimmering behind her. Sarah, you're not just a cleaner. You're family. Sarah, wiping down a table, pauses, her smile small but real. Family's what we make, Clara. Noah's teaching me that. Clara nods, handing Sarah a photo from her purse, Rachel, laughing, holding a newborn Noah. She'd have loved you, Clara says, voice catching. Sarah studies the photo, her throat tight. I hope I'm doing her proud. Ethan's been dreaming bigger than the penthouse, bigger than his tech empire. Noah's breakthrough isn't just a moment, it's a mission. He pulls Sarah aside, his voice low, urgent. I want to build something, a center for kids like Noah, where music and rhythm open doors no doctor can. Not a clinic, not a hospital, but a place that feels alive. I want you to help me run it. Sarah's eyes widen, her rag dropping. Ethan, I'm a high school dropout. I sing in dive bars, not boardrooms. He steps closer, unwavering. You made Noah speak, Sarah. That's the only resume I need. She hesitates, her past, failed gigs, a life of scraping by, screaming she's not enough. But Noah's bongo taps fill the silence, and she nods, a fire igniting. For Noah, she says. Let's do it. They name it Noah's Haven, a 3-story building in Logan Square, its glass facade catching the Chicago sun. Ethan funds it, $10 million, no strings attached, but Sarah designs the soul. Rooms with soft lights, wind chimes, bongo drums, and padded mats for kids to move freely. No cold waiting rooms, no clipboards. Therapists in jeans lead sessions with shakers and songs, inspired by Sarah's instinct. Clara joins as a volunteer, her business savvy shaping the center's future. Mark, ever loyal, handles logistics, his faith in Sarah now a badge of pride. The grand opening is set for a crisp April morning. Balloons and blues and greens framing the entrance. Families arriving with kids in wheelchairs. Kids who don't speak. Kids who need a haven. Sarah stands in the lobby, her navy dress simple, a silver music note pinned to her collar, her heart pounding. This isn't just a building, it's a promise. The crowd gathers in the main hall, a sunlit space with a low stage. Ethan, in a dark blazer, speaks first, his voice steady but thick. Noah's Haven isn't about fixing kids. It's about hearing them, through music, through rhythm, through love. Sarah Mitchell showed us that. He gestures to her, and the room applauds, but Sarah's eyes are on Noah, 11 now, standing by the stage, a bongo drum at his feet. He's in a blue shirt, his curls tamed, his hands twitching but calm. Sarah kneels beside him, whispering, You ready, buddy? Noah's eyes meet hers, a rare, fleeting connection, and he nods, a small, brave nod. The lights dim, and a piano melody fills the hall, gentle but strong. Noah steps forward alone, his bare feet steady on the wood. He taps the bongo once, twice, a rhythm he's practiced with Sarah for weeks. The crowd holds its breath as he sways, his hands finding a beat, uneven but his own. Sarah joins him, not leading but mirroring, her hands clapping softly, her voice humming What a Wonderful World. When Noah stumbles, missing a beat, he pauses, then starts again, his face set with focus. The room erupts, tears streaming, as he finishes with a final, proud tap. Ethan, in the front row, stands, clapping hardest, his cheeks wet. Clara, beside him, dabs her eyes. Rachel's watching, she whispers. She sees him. Noah runs to Ethan, who lifts him high, spinning him like he's weightless. You're my hero, buddy. Ethan chokes out, his voice breaking. Sarah steps back, her own tears falling, watching father and son in a moment she helped build. The crowd's cheers fade, but the hall pulses with something stronger. Hope, raw and real. Noah's haven is open, and Noah's drumbeat is its heart. But Sarah's eyes catch a glint of Rachel's photo on a wall plaque, and she wonders, is this the end, or just the start of something bigger? The Chicago sunset bathes Noah's haven in amber, its glass walls glowing like a beacon over Logan Square. Inside, the echoes of Noah's bongo taps linger, a rhythm that's turned a penthouse's silence into a symphony of hope. Ethan Caldwell stands in the lobby, his arm around Noah, now 11, whose eyes flicker with a spark that was once just a dream. Sarah Mitchell, their unexpected sister, adjusts a music note pin on her dress, her smile soft but fierce. She's not just a cleaner anymore. She's family, co-founder of a haven where kids like Noah find their voice through melody and motion. Clara, once skeptical, now greets families at the door, her warmth a quiet apology for doubting. The center's alive, kids shaking maracas, parents clapping, the air pulsing with possibility. Ethan looks at Sarah, his half-sister, and sees Rachel's courage in her eyes. Noah's mama, his bongo beats, the shared blood. It's a story no one could have scripted. You changed everything, Ethan says, voice low. Sarah shakes her head. Noah did. I just sang along. They laugh, a sound that fills the cracks left by years of grief. Above the entrance, a plaque reads, Noah's Haven, where every child finds their song. It's more than a building. It's a promise that love, not money, unlocks miracles. Family. What's the takeaway from Ethan, Noah, and Sarah? First, listen with your heart. Degrees and dollars don't always hear what a child's silence says. Sometimes a song does. Try it. Really hear someone today, whether it's a kid, a friend, or a stranger on the L train. Second, find joy in the small stuff. Noah's single word, his shaky beat. They were small, but they built a haven. Celebrate the little wins in your life, like a smile or a shared moment. Third, trust the unexpected. Sarah wasn't a doctor, just a woman with a voice and a past, but she was the key. Don't dismiss the underdog in your story. They might hold the note that changes everything. Here's a verse to carry with you, from Psalm 30 verse 11. You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy. That's Noah's story, Sarah's gift, Ethan's hope. What did you learn today? Drop in the comments, hit like, and share this with someone who needs a spark. Subscribe to Just a Spark Stories and ring that bell. We've got more stories to light your way. Thank you for being here, family. Noah's song is proof. Even in silence, there's a rhythm waiting to be heard.